Hey guys, it's Nick, the ASMR nerd, and welcome to another episode of Relaxing Reviews. I've got a question for you. Do you fall asleep listening to ASMR videos? Maybe you're doing that right now with this video. I don't know. But I certainly do, and have done so for many years. And I've got a pair of earbuds, wired earbuds, that I usually listen with, and they're comfortable enough when I lay down. I tend to be a side sleeper, and they're low profile enough that it doesn't hurt anyway to lay on my side with them. But every once in a while, I fall asleep with them in, and I'm rudely awakened by either getting strangled by the cord, it's wrapped itself around me somehow in my sleep, or even worse, uh, one of the earbuds gets yanked out of my ear in my sleep, and that's both painful and aggravating. So it's not an ideal solution, which is why I was very interested when I was contacted by a company called Dudios, asking if I was interested in reviewing their Bluetooth wireless earbuds, their Zeus Ace wireless earbuds. And on paper, these things sound pretty ideal. And I thought to myself, hey, maybe here's the solution. This is a budget oriented pair of earbuds. They come in at only 33 US dollars. They are true wireless stereo earbuds. They use Bluetooth 5.0. They claim 4 hours of battery life, but they come with a protective case that also serves as a battery reserve and adds an additional 30 hours of charging time to those earbuds. And overall, they seem like a really solid, pretty feature rich package at a reasonable, very reasonable price point. So I thought to myself, hey, let's check them out. Maybe these are the ASMR earbuds that I've been looking for. So, of course, Dudios very kindly sent over a pair of their Zeus Ace wireless earbuds for us to take a look at here today. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So, without further ado, let's get to the unboxing. And here we have the Dudios Zeus Ace earbuds in box. And a tiny box it is, barely bigger than the palm of my hand. Well, maybe a little bigger. We'll say it's the size of my hand. It's kind of a hard cardboard, stiff, some structural rigidity to it. So it should afford the earbuds some protection, but actually inside they're obviously within a case anyway, so I'm sure they will have arrived undamaged. Box looks nice, it's got this kind of classy black aesthetic, matte finish, sort of glossy image of the headphones on the front. Not even glossy, I guess. It's the same finish as the rest of it. We've got some gold branding up here, Dudios, and then Zeus Ace, also in gold lettering down here. Underneath that it says True Wireless Stereo Earbuds. And then some icons over here showing some of its, I guess, attributes. What does it say? Comfort fit. I'm very keen to evaluate that. Auto pairing, so as soon as you take them out of the case, they should automatically pair with your device. And an 800 milliamp hour battery. So, on the side here, sound with substance. I hope so. More Dudios branding. Again, it's that gold on black. It looks very luxe. And on the back, we've got the usual kind of stuff. Picture of the product, some features, some little gold icons there, some certifications, these kinds of things. What does it say? It says, true wireless, no boundaries. TWS technology. So that's the transmission protocol, I think, for the Bluetooth. High fidelity sound. Clear voice calling, long-lasting playtime. So they claim here 4 hours per charge, and then the case provides another 30 hours of backup charge. 4 hours in one sitting, not a lot of time, but granted, I don't have a lot of experience with wireless headphones, wireless earbuds, I should say. I use wireless headphones all the time, but wireless earbuds are a new thing for me. So, I don't know. It's long enough to listen for a portion of your work day, long enough for a commute, long enough to fall asleep listening to ASMR videos, probably. Unless you're having real problems, serious issues falling asleep. Premium audio, no latency. We shall see. We shall see. I will say when these arrived, they were plastic wrapped. Clearly they are not now. I took that off for ease of unboxing here. But they did come wrapped, shrink wrapped. Alright, let's open these things if I can. It's a little tricky. The box could benefit from a cutout here and here so that I can, grab this bottom box more easily. Alright, there we go. It's a snug fit, but top's off. You can see it's pretty nice. It's got a foam padding in there. And again, it's this nice thick cardboard. So that's nicely presented. Inside, really nothing much except our headphones in their case. Again, nicely presented. Plastic case. Dudios logo. Earbuds inside, nestled in this plastic molding. And case has a micro USB slot on it because, of course, this is how you charge the earbuds. Put them in the case, and then the case plugs in. On the bottom, it says here, model Dudios Zeus Ace. Some specs for electrical there, some certifications. Nothing else, but very small. Very easy to slip into a pocket or a backpack or purse. In terms of other stuff in here, this paper holder just comes right out. Cardboard, I guess. Here is a very short USB cable. Oh my goodness. You're not going to be plugging into much with this. I guess it could plug into your laptop. Or if you have, PC tower, you could plug it in on top or something. But it has a very, very chintzy short cable. I don't think I've ever seen such a short USB cable. It's almost comically short. No branding on the cable, just generic black casing. And yeah, it's like less than 6 inches long. That's actually almost funny. And this looks like replacement, or not replacement, but other sizes of ear tips. Silicone tips of varying sizes, some for larger ear canals, some for medium size, and some for small, very small ear canals. They feel pretty thin, but they feel soft. I'm sure they'll get the job done. And then I think they come with a pair on them as well, for a total of 4 pairs of these things. I'll have to play around and find a pair that works for me. I tend to be pretty average in my sizing for these earbud tips. And there are a couple other pieces of literature in here. What do we have? A quick start guide. So this is for pairing. Weirdly, this is not paper. This is plastic. Talks about pairing, charging. Oh, taking the earbuds out, charging, and then pairing. It looks pretty straightforward. Yeah, a strange little piece of translucent plastic. And then we have here Sound Peats. Now that's interesting because Dudios, obviously these are branded, but I saw a bunch of Sound Peats products on Amazon listed alongside these Dudios things, and so I guess it's the same company with different sub-brands. I don't know. But it says here, we are thrilled to have you join the Sound Peats big family. Look at all those happy people. They're in the Sound Peats big family, right? We're really eager to hear from you, and we're trying our best to do a lot better job to give you more satisfied customer support. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. It says here you can register for 6 months of additional warranty, but it doesn't seem to say how much the default warranty is. I think it's a year, but I'm not sure. I will find out for you. This always seems to be the case, isn't it? Influencers. Oh, look at that. You can help promote their brand. Is that me? Am I an influencer? I guess, in a sense. I might influence you to not buy their product if I don't like it, though. Or I guess if I do like it, maybe you will. Discounts. Anyway, not important. That's all that's in the box. This box does make nice sounds. Give him that. It's a nice looking box. And then, of course, ye old user manual. Variety of languages inside. Oh, 2 languages. My mistake. English and Chinese. Yo, thanks for choosing Dudios Zeus Ace Bluetooth earphones. It doesn't say yo, by the way. It says thank you. The yo part was me. Just embellishing. Yes, 8 ear tips, so 4 pairs. A very tiny charging cable. The earbuds, the case, and this manual. Get comfortable. Factory reset, stereo mode, mono mode, taking calls, all that stuff. Alright, this seems to be fairly thorough. There's some Q&A, warranty and support. It doesn't say. It just says if you need any assistance or support, email support@dudios.com. That's frustrating. I think on the Amazon page it said a year, but yeah, I'll try and find that out for you guys before the end of the review. Alright, so looking at this little guy again, inside, earbuds, let's pull them out. They are, oh yeah, right, of course, they are magnetic. So they're kept in here with little magnets, which feel pretty strong. And they pop out like that. You can see in there, in each little spot, there's contacts for charging. And that's pretty much it. There's a battery, presumably underneath there, but it's not user accessible. And here is the individual bud headphone, singular, Dudios branding, LED light, and this serves as a button. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. It's got this very smooth oval housing, silicone tip. Driver lives in there somewhere. Oh, and a little tiny spot, it's a microphone. And there's those contacts. Each one is marked with which ear it belongs in. So this is the right. Pull out the left here for you. There it is. Otherwise identical. They both have microphones. They both have buttons. Then they just pop back in like so. Nice and easily. They are not very heavy. They're pretty light. So I'm hoping they're comfortable. So that was a pretty quick little unboxing, but there's not a lot to see here. What's important is how they sound, of course, and how they pair and perform. Hopefully everything works as advertised. I am going to find that out. I'm going to use these for a while for some music, casual listening. I'll try out some phone calls, maybe some gaming just to see. And I'm also very curious about that battery life, because 4 hours doesn't seem like very much. But perhaps most importantly of all, I'm going to try these out for ASMR. Like I said earlier, the big draw for this kind of earphone for me is being able to wear them to bed, just putting them in my ears, being able to lay my head down on the pillow without discomfort, and listen to ASMR to fall asleep. So that's going to be a big thing for what I'm testing, or that I'm testing for. All right, I'm going to go do that, and we will get back together here and talk about it once I have. All right, so I've spent the last 2 weeks or so using these guys right here, the Dudios Zeus Ace wireless earbuds, for a variety of things. For a variety of things, for listening to music, for listening to ASMR, for making phone calls, in a variety of settings. So at home, at work, out in public, and I'm going to tell you what they're like. First thing is that the pairing is really easy, which is great. You just pop them out like this. Oops, not like that, like this. And they will automatically pair. You can see when it's flashing like that, that means that each bud has paired to the other automatically. And it's searching for a Bluetooth device to pair to now, and it'll pair to the last device that it was paired with, which in this case is my phone, but I have Bluetooth turned off on my phone right now. But anyway, that all works very flawlessly. It does it almost immediately, so no complaints there. I will say that the signal strength is pretty good. I was able to take these and walk from my computer room, office space, over to the kitchen, and they didn't start cutting out until I was sort of at the far end of my kitchen, which is pretty par for the course, I suppose, with other Bluetooth headphones I've reviewed here before. But every once in a while, not frequently, but occasionally, there'll be a little hiccup in the connection, even when I'm sitting right next to the Bluetooth audio source, like my phone might be in my pocket or on the desk next to me. And occasionally they will very quickly disconnect and reconnect, and it'll just make a little noise. So it's not a huge problem, but the connection wasn't 100% solid. Like I said, though, fairly infrequent. The fit and finish story is quite good, though. The build quality is not bad at all. They are plastic through and through, but it's solid. There's no creaking, no flexing on these guys or on the charging case. They all feel very solidly made. In terms of comfort, they're very good. They just fit right in the ear like so. They are not the slimmest earbuds in the world, not the smallest wireless earbuds, but they're not huge either. They don't look too weird, I don't think. I mean, you can see it like that. However, unfortunately, they are not slim enough for me to wear to bed. as a side sleeper, I found them to be pretty uncomfortable when pressed against my pillow. Perhaps more to the point is that each of them has a multifunction button built into the side. You can see it right here. And it's easy to press, you know, which is good because when it's sitting in your ear, you don't want to be mashing into your ear because that would be painful. However, it does mean that it's also easy to press accidentally. And so if you were sleeping on your side and you press up against the pillow, then sometimes the button will press and it will play or pause your music or your video, I guess, if you're watching or listening to ASMR. And a double press will skip ahead, I think. So I had issues with my media pausing when I was laying on my side, besides it being somewhat uncomfortable just because of the bulk. So ultimately, these are not the ASMR wireless earbuds that I was looking for. I think you would need something slimmer, lower profile, and perhaps something with buttons in a different orientation or with capacitive touch buttons as opposed to physical hardware buttons. Interestingly, Dudios does make a pair of earbuds that's almost exactly like this, it seems, but that does have touch controls as opposed to button controls. And they asked if I wanted to review them, but that was not until after they had already sent me these ones. So I might see if I can get them in just to check them out and do a little follow-up, maybe mini review or something, or even just a post on social media or something to let you guys know if they're any better for like side sleeping. But I think in terms of this, the profile, the size, they're about the same. So I don't know that they'd be that much more comfortable. Anyway, but that's the story. But I will say that outside of, sleeping on my side in bed with my head mashed against the pillow, these are quite comfortable. I can wear them for several hours, and kind of forget that they're there, to be honest. And they fit quite snugly. They're very secure in their fit, which means that they would be good for exercising. I don't think they're going to pop out in vigorous exercise. So, which is obviously, good for wireless earbuds because you don't want wires when you're exercising. In terms of the sound quality, the default, just stock sound quality of these things, to be frank, was a little bit disappointing. It was underwhelming. What I found was that the bass was pretty thin, lacked punchiness, and they have a very mid-forward sound signature by default, which is good for vocals, but I found actually that the high mids were very accentuated to the point that they sound quite harsh and very fatiguing to listen to after a little while. Now, they do respond well to being EQ'd. So if you have an equalizer app on your phone or whatever, the situation gets significantly better. I spent some time dialing in settings I liked on my phone, and I found that I got some sound that I was quite happy with out of them. I would say it was good, if not exceptional, but good. The bass was much more present and punchier, and quite tight. You can see here right now when you put them back into the case, they will light up to show that they're charging, like so. You can close that there. And I want to show you this too. Sorry, this is a digression, but you can actually see through the case. Maybe you can see the little red charging LED. They have a little, it's hard to see. It's pretty faint, but trust me, it's there. So you can actually see when they're charging, even when the top is closed. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, after EQing, they sound pretty good. much more bass presence, managed to dial back those mids, and managed to take that kind of harsh tone out of those high mids. They are just naturally a very bright sounding earbud, and so vocals are very well defined. Everything sounds very crisp. It's just that there was too much of that by default, and they did definitely require a little EQ to sound comfortable to my ears. I like a slightly softer sound, but overall, very bright sound profile, and with a bit of EQ, it helps boost that bass up and really helps them sound a lot fuller to me. They also get plenty loud. I found that I was listening to them at under 50% volume at all times, and anything over 50% was pretty uncomfortably loud. So, no problems with volume on these guys. In terms of the listening experience overall, I found that like pop and like hip hop, electronic music, that kind of stuff sounded really nice on these earbuds after a bit of EQ. Metal, not as good. I find that they get somewhat overwhelmed by complex mixes, by very thick mixes when there's a whole lot of stuff coming at them. And it tends to duck the audio a little bit, like the volume drops overall when the mix gets complex. I don't know what that's called in a technical sense, but in my experience, that's usually a sign of a lower quality headphone when it can't handle a complex mix like that. Not a bad listening experience with metal. It certainly got the job done. Where I would say it's lacking was for music with lots of quiet or subtle sections, like some kinds of classical music, for instance, because there is some audible Bluetooth hiss there. And most of the time it's not too bad because the signal to noise ratio in most music is pretty good. But when you're listening to particularly quiet recordings, or like I said, quiet passages in classical music, that Bluetooth hiss becomes quite audible. And I even thought what I heard was sounded kind of like some artifacting at some points. It wasn't too distracting, but it certainly wasn't as nice a listening experience as I get from my wired earbuds when it came to quieter tracks. But for most people's listening purposes, I imagine that they'll do just fine. One thing that's worth noting is that very kind of mid forward and that emphasis in the high mids, that sound signature, that very bright sound signature, that crisp sound signature, actually does lend itself pretty well to ASMR. Because a lot of the trigger sounds are in that frequency range. So, in terms of the sound experience listening to ASMR, these things are pretty good. It's just too bad they're not a bit lower profile because I would really like to be able to lie on my side on my pillow with them. All right, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say in that section. So, hey, guess what? It's time for the pros. There's a lot that I do actually like about these earbuds. If I haven't sounded incredibly effusive singing their praises, that's not because I think they're bad. Maybe it's because they didn't blow me away. But when you factor in the price point, a lot of these minor shortcomings become a lot more forgivable. So in terms of the pros, I'd like to call out that solid build quality that I mentioned. They are all made of plastic, but it seems like high quality plastic and there's no flex or squeaking or anything like that to it. I also really like that charging case that it comes with. It's very convenient. It seems to protect them well. The magnetic securing of the earbuds in there is quite clever and seems to work just right. And it's got that 800 milliamp hour battery that gives you an extra 30 or so hours of charging time on the go, which is pretty good. Also nice to see that there were 4 different types of silicone tips included for your ear canal. I didn't mention this in the listening review section that I just did, but I found that the left ear sealed really nicely for me with the default tip. My right ear, for whatever reason, took me a while to find the right seal. I actually had to go to the slightly smaller tip, one size down, and I found that that worked a little bit better for me. So nice to have those 4 included tips. And on that note, these actually have very good sound isolation. This is another thing I didn't mention just a couple minutes ago, but I think it's important to mention. I think these are pretty good for instance, commuting or for exercising in a gym or something like that, where you want to block out a lot of the ambient sound. They have, of course, a completely sealed, closed off design, and if you get that seal with those silicone tips, they will block out a fair bit of ambient noise. On that same note, I found that the fit was really good and they were very comfortable for normal use. They sit quite securely in the ears, they don't look too huge, they're not particularly heavy, and they stay snug through vigorous motion. So I think that these would actually be a pretty good set of earbuds for exercising with. Also want to call out the nice easy pairing. These earbuds will pair with one another automatically within a matter of seconds, and they will then pair with your Bluetooth device, whatever they were last paired with, again quite quickly. It usually seems that they found the signal within a couple of seconds most times. There were a few hiccups once paired, but the initial pairing nice and easy and straightforward. Also want to mention the battery life. They claim 4 hours. I used these for listening at work, and I found that they actually lasted for more than 4 hours. Now, granted, there were a couple of gaps in my listening where I paused the music, took them out, put them down for a few minutes, and came back or whatever. But they were paired during that time, and I found that with this kind of mixed usage pattern, they lasted me a whole afternoon. 4+ hours, probably getting closer to 5. So that 4 hours of battery time is actually maybe a conservative estimate. And that puts them in about the same class in terms of battery life as like Apple's AirPods, for instance. They have about 5 hours of battery life, which they call industry leading battery life. So if these aren't quite there, they're not too far off anyway. So pretty impressed with the 4+ hours of battery life on these little buds. And finally, maybe the best thing about these earbuds is their price. They are true wireless stereo earbuds, like I said, with Bluetooth. You get the charging case, you get the extra tips, and they have pretty decent audio quality after EQ. And you get all that for a mere $33. That is way cheaper than most competitors from big name brands. Certainly a sight cheaper than Apple's AirPods. So you really can't complain about the price on these things. For what you pay, you get quite a lot. These are very good value. There are, however, a handful of cons that I have to mention here. Most of these are fairly minor, but they're important to bring up. The first is those occasional connection hiccups. This was when they were paired with my phone. Like I said, maybe, I don't know, once an hour or something, they would just drop connection for a moment and then reacquire it and make a little doo-doo-doo-doo noise, which, might bother you, might not. It didn't bother me too much, but worth mentioning. Also worth bringing up is that audible Bluetooth hiss. As you can tell, this is something that I particularly get bothered by. Again, some people maybe don't find it so bothersome, but it's something that I notice. While we're talking about sound quality, it's also worth mentioning that the sound quality out of the box is somewhat lackluster, particularly those harsh upper mids that I found just very fatiguing to listen to for more than a few minutes at a time. So you do have to EQ these things to get good sound quality out of them. As I mentioned earlier, if you take the time to EQ them, they actually do perform quite well, but the default sound signature is just too harsh in the high mids and just too bright overall for my liking. And the final con that I'm going to mention is maybe a little bit unfair, because I have to imagine that Dudios engineers didn't have this usage case in mind, but that is the listening in bed usage case. These earbuds are not viable for side sleepers because they are a little too chunky to be comfortable, and because of those buttons that are on the sides, they get pressed when you're laying on your side. So it's hard to hold that against Dudios because, again, I think listening to ASMR in bed is not what they consider a typical usage case, but it was something that I wanted to investigate these for, and unfortunately, they don't deliver there. So, after all that, what is my final verdict on Dudios Zeus Ace wireless earbuds? Well, I think they are a totally serviceable and inexpensive option for in-ear wireless earbuds. I think they have good battery life for their class, and after a bit of EQ, I think they have very good, if not excellent, sound quality. Unfortunately, they are not the bed earbuds, the ASMR bedtime earbuds that I hoped they might be. Certainly, they're not going to do the job for side sleepers, but nevertheless, I think that they offer excellent value for the average user in typical usage scenarios, and I would not hesitate to recommend them for listening at work, sort of casual listening, listening on public transit, listening while exercising, any of those sorts of things. So, a recommended product, certainly. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of another episode of Relaxing Reviews. Special thanks, of course, to Dudios for sending over the review sample that we took a look at here today. And of course, if you'd like to pick up these earbuds for yourself, there are Amazon purchase links down in the video description where you can do just that. And of course, special thanks to all of you for watching. I always appreciate it. I hope you found this review informative, and I hope you found it relaxing. And I look very forward to having you all back here next time for another episode of Relaxing Reviews. Bye for now, guys.